Welcome to Cojones Icons, and this week, of course, I always say it every time, another very special guest. We've got the face of Sky Sports Boxing and a former cruiserweight champion of the world. Of course, you know who he is. He is Johnny Nelson. Johnny.
Nice to see you again, Keith. How are you going, man? You good?
Good to see you. We've met before, and of course, it's great to speak to you on a more personal level today, I hope.
Yeah.
But, you know, you cruiserweight champion of the world, and I believe you held the cruiserweight title for the longest that anyone has ever had, which is obviously, you know, a great thing to have on your record. But it wasn't always like that, was it?
No, it wasn't.
I don't want to remind you, but you came from a situation where you lost your first 3 fights. I think you lost your first 4 out of your first 8 fights. It sounds like a silly question, but how did that happen?
I actually like going back and going over that history. I actually like people reminding me, and people feel uncomfortable actually reminding me of it. And I smile, I say, actually, it's not a big deal. They're more embarrassed than I am. And the reason being is because the one thing my career has taught me that to get wisdom, you've got to go through experiences. Experiences, good and bad. I had 13 amateur fights. I won 3. That's how bad I was. Turned professional. I thought I'll have 5 professional fights. I didn't care if I won or lost. It was about, I thought, make a bit of money and get a career, get a proper job. I thought, might be a policeman, might join the army. This is what I'm thinking in my head. So I thought, if I have 5 fights and don't win 1, then I'll definitely do it then. I won the 4th fight, and I thought, all right, we'll get to 10 then, and we'll see how it evens out. And this is how I was thinking. I'll have another 5. I'll have another 5. I never really thought to myself that boxing was for me. I never really thought to myself that it was my sport. I thought I was just playing at it. I thought it was something that I was getting involved in, make a bit of dough, and that was it. Then after a while, I think it was after about my 8th or 9th fight, I looked at some of the guys that boxed and I thought, well, the commitment I'm giving it, which was half-cocked, there was nothing in it, I thought, I should actually be doing a lot better than these, because the guys I boxed a former world multi-nation gold medalist, Megan Harvner. I think I was in my third professional fight. I boxed a guy called Doug Young when top amateur, when we ended up boxing pro. And so I looked at some of the guys who I went in there and I was supposed to be cannon fodder. And I think it was probably after the Brian Schumacher fight. Brian Schumacher was promoted by Frank Warren at the time, and he was a big deal, ITV and everything, big fighter. And I lost, but I think I probably got robbed. But in reality, I shouldn't have even got past 2 or 3 rounds. Schumacher should have shut me out. So then I started to think, so what will happen if I actually really tried? You know, if I'm just losing to these guys, and I'm getting in with these guys, and these guys are struggling with me, they're struggling to beat me, and they've got all this pedigree, and I've got no pedigree at all, and I'm doing it half-cocked. I'm thinking, what happened if I actually had a go? And that slowly but surely, that seed started to grow. You know, I looked at guys in the gym, I looked at what we're doing in the gym, and Harold Graham was there. We had Brian Anderson, British champion, Harold Graham, former British and European champion. We had some talented fighters there. And I thought the only difference between them and I is they were in a position to perform in front of an audience, and I wasn't, and that was it. And so the best thing that could have happened, at the time I didn't realise that.
Was there any stage fright there, wasn't there?
Stage fright, complete, because in the gym, you know, I was one of those kids that at first I was a coward, trust me. You know, kids about half my size used to batter me, and used to hear him at ringside saying, look at this kid, he's rubbish. I could hear him talking about me, thinking, oh my goodness. And that's how it was.
It's interesting because, for what it sounds like, you see a lot of professional sportsmen, they have that winning mindset. And a lot of people, I spoke to Eric Bristow, and it kind of intimated, or I kind of got from him that he had it from within. Second is no good. Yeah. It was his mindset. But you didn't have that at first. You were almost...
I didn't care.
No. Which is interesting. How did you develop, from nothing, the winning mindset? Because to become a world champion, to become the best,
you need a minute.
It's not just about talent. It's not just about ethic. You've also got to have it in between here. How did you develop that?
It's human nature. Human nature. The response and the reaction of the crowd and the fans made me all of a sudden say, "You better fix up, son," because when I went into fight and when I became British champion, when I became European champion, I'd still never thought I was good. I just thought everybody else I boxed wasn't very good. And I thought, I'm lucky here, right place, right time. He's not very good, this kid. I've won a British title, won a Lonsdale belt. I'm not appreciating the success that I've had. I'd won the European title against another accomplished, well-pedigreed former World Championship fighter as an amateur, and I won the European title against his. I still didn't think to myself, I'm not bad here. I just thought they were very good. I think the turnaround point was when I boxed for the world title, WBC title against Carlos de Leon in Sheffield. I drew for the title, and it was a terrible fight. The fight was boring. I was non-committal. The champion, Carlos de Leon, was non-committal. Carlos de Leon, before the fight, because I always thought I was hustling my way through a boxing career thinking they don't know I'm rubbish, but they're going to find out soon. So I'm beating all these guys, you know, turning a loss into a win. And then when I came for the world title, I knew de Leon at one time was pound for pound the best cruiserweight in the world before I boxed him. So then I thought to myself, wow, you're going to get exposed here. That's all I thought. I didn't think I can beat this guy. I thought, you're in against the best, you're going to get exposed here. And then when I got in there, because I froze, and I did hardly anything, but he couldn't do anything with me either. You know, so that was it. You know, so the reaction of the crowd, the reaction of the media, the reaction of the boxing world, the fraternity, I got absolutely hammered, you know, ridiculed. I'd be walking in the street with my girlfriend at the time, and people would be talking about me like, not even scared, I might say, did you see that Nelson box? What? And calling him every name under the sun, in earshot. And I tell Brendan this, and Brendan said, you can't hit everybody. So you've just got to swallow it. You know, so then all of a sudden, I wanted to prove to myself I'm not a coward, because that's all I heard, coward. Yeah. And so when someone said it to you often enough, you start to believe it.
Of course. Particularly if you say it to yourself.
Yeah, I'm a coward. I'm a no good. And so you're doubting yourself in everything, but I knew if I didn't fix that, if I didn't rectify that part of my life, it would affect every aspect of my life, my family life, my work, my job, my social life. So I knew then I wanted it. So now I'm thinking, now this is something I want to do. So all of a sudden, from me not being bothered about boxing, from me not really caring, I've got passion for something. I think, right, this is my job, this is my responsibility. Not yours, not yours, not yours, this is my job. So now I'm going to commit.
But what about the belief that you could do it?
Well, that was it. So now I had to commit. So now I'm thinking, now I'm angry. I'm mad. I'm thinking, I've got to fix this. I'm going to do anything possible to get this right. I've got to get over this. Brendan knew, very, very wise guy. And all of a sudden he said, this is going to be a long journey. You're not going to become good until you're in your 30s. And I thought, in my 30s, I don't want to be boxing when I'm 30 odd. I want to retire, I don't want to be doing that. He said, you're not going to become good until you're 30s. You're a mummy's boy. You know, you're not rough around the edges. You need to be more rugged. He said, you need a bit of life experience. So then that was the beginning of the best time of my life. Now looking back on it, at the time, I thought it was the worst time. You went to Germany, right? Sent me to Germany, sent me to France, sent me to South Africa, sent me to all over the place as a sparring partner. Now, as a sparring partner, that was the best way to learn my trade and make me decide how much I really wanted it. Because I'd get in there with world champions, European champions, people that were expected to be the best. Sure. I got in with the elite as someone for them to beat up. And so then when I'm sparring with these guys and beating them up as their sparring partner, then I'm getting into my head thinking, I've just walked back to this dirty little bedsit and you've just walked out the gym into a stretched limousine with your wife sat there with a poodle waiting for you to go to your big chateau. And I'm thinking, there's something right about this picture. And I just did this time after time after time after time. And say, for instance, in Germany, you'd be in East Germany, they give you a ticket for 2 months. Nobody lasted the 2 months. What happened is you got beat up every day. And so you'd have to find your way from Frankfurt Oder on the border of Poland in East Germany to Berlin, pay for your own flight to get home if you want to leave early. If you lasted the course, they drove you to the airport and then you went home. Hardly anybody.
Were there no direct flights from Frankfurt then?
No. Frankfurt Oder, we're talking East Berlin, East Germany.
Yeah, of course.
So most of the sparring partners did a run. I used to be there and I'd see a lot of Americans there getting battered. Absolutely battered. I thought, that's never going to happen to me. And it was the best thing I did. And I stayed, I never quit. And so it was like pride now. The Germans want to break me, and I thought, I'm going to break you. I sparred with Axel Schultz, Henry Maas, Torsten May. Now these were the elite of German boxing. These are guys, the German, they expected them to do the best. If you know your boxing, you know Henry Maas, you know who Axel Schultz is. He boxed George Foreman. You know, these guys, I sparred with them. And it was the best learning I could ever do. And then I'd been in France sparring with Fabrice Teoso. I'd be all over the world. And all they were doing was educating me. And every night I'd phone Brendan and report back to him. And so after a while, what happened was I was starting to build my confidence and self-belief up.
So did the hunger, from what happened earlier, you weren't really bothered. And then you found this hunger and this desire to prove to yourself and to everyone else you could do it.
Yeah.
When did the belief kick in? Was that at the same time or did it catch up with you?
The belief caught up with me once I'd been away sparring with all these guys and beating them up in sparring. And I'm thinking, I'm getting paid to beat you up. Now I know I can do it.
Sure.
Now I believe I can do it. Now all of a sudden, the opportunity, now I knew if I ever won a world title, I would never ever lose it in the ring. Because I'd gone through every aspect of boxing. I'd won, I'd lost, I'd drawn, I'd been ridiculed, I'd been booed, I'd been as a journeyman. So I knew every part of boxing. So nobody, no matter how
every
much...
part of life, Johnny.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, all those kind of feelings are almost like a roller coaster of emotions everybody goes through.
Exactly. So all of a sudden I then knew all these so-called boxing experts and pundits that I'd be talking...
Which you are now.
Which I am now. That I'd be talking crap about me on TV.
Yeah.
I actually thought, well, you can't tell me anything because I've been through every aspect of boxing. So I actually know more than you. I might not be as articulate. I might not be academically as intelligent as you. I might not be able to hold the information of the history of the sport as you. But no matter what, I have practical experience. And so all of a sudden, I thought I deserved this. And I said to myself, you know what, I deserve this more than anybody. So therefore, I thought, no matter what, I'll be world champion. So which shows the experts don't know Jag. It shows if you want it enough, if you put the work in, if you have the self-belief, it doesn't matter what anybody else says, it's about you.
To recap your journey, you sound like you used to almost put yourself down. Let other people put you down.
And believe them.
And believe them.
Yeah.
And you went from there. In a similar way, you started to notice, actually, I can do this. You had this epiphany.
Yeah.
I can do this. Look where I've come from. And I'm going to start, and then you started to think, not only can I do it, I'm going to do it.
And I can be the best at it.
And be the best at it. And that's just a fantastic thing from people out there watching. From a guy who's been there, done it, in the hardest, if not the hardest sport there is to be involved with is boxing. And you've shown what is possible in all sorts of circumstances.
Well, to me, I think when I speak to amateur young guys coming through in the amateurs, and you think once you lose, it's the end of the world. And once you lose, all of a sudden you're no good anymore. And I say to them, it doesn't mean Jag. It's how you translate that, how you deal with that failure. You know, and you can turn around, and how I used to do it was, I think, right, why did I lose? And I look at everything I thought about, everything I felt, everything I did. And I think, I've got to fix these one by one. It might take me 10 fights to fix it, but I'll fix these one by one.
Yeah.
So it was about self-confidence. I had none. It wasn't, it was about fitness. I made sure I fixed that. It was about what I thought he was better than me. I thought he was, it was my perception of my opponent. It was my fears. I was scared of getting hurt. So I think, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? And so eventually I used to say to myself, instead of running from fear, because what we do when we see things that frighten us, we try and bury our head in the sand, or we try and look away from it, or we try and take ourselves out of that environment. So when you do that...
In any form of
life.
life.
In every form of life. So what happens is, when you do that, when that big creepy crawly comes up and jumps on you, you think, what am I going to do? Instead of dealing with it. And so all of a sudden, I'm thinking to myself, you need to learn to run with fear. Not run from it, go look for it and run with it. So the things that scared me, the things that intimidated me, I would look for them and I'd be absolutely bricking myself, but I thought, I'm going to deal with this head on.
So how did the TV gig come about then?
So TV gig was when it came to, I was a guest. I was originally a guest. And the first job was, I was in Sheffield. They sent a camera to Sheffield to ask me to give my opinion on a certain fight. I talked down the barrel of the camera, And I spoke as though I'm speaking to you now, to make you feel as though I'm actually talking to you.
Sure.
The producer at the time, Chris Brown, liked that. He thought, this kid, he can actually, I get him. I'm not like, I get him. And so then they had me in the studio a few times as a guest. And then he said, we want to have you on board. Adam Smith, I can remember Adam Smith being commentating on a lot of my fights. He said, all you've got to do is win a world title. Once you win a world title, then you get a job at Sky, working with the boxing. And I went, really? He went, yeah. And once I'd won it,
How long after retirement was that?
Straight away. Straight away.
It's like manna from heaven, wasn't it?
Yeah, straight away. And the thing is, I'm very fortunate because I've got the best job in the world where I'm still involved in a sport that I love, that I know about. I'm still involved.
Was there any self-doubt? You were obviously changing careers, albeit in boxing. Was there any self-doubt about being in front of the camera, any self-consciousness?
Without a doubt, without a doubt, because it's a different world now.
How did you overcome that?
Yeah, it was a different world now. So all of a sudden, when we're thinking of the big important things in life that can get you hurt, they're worried about saving 2 seconds on something. You've got to say this inside 15 seconds, otherwise, or getting a word right. And the little minute silly things that you think, oh, what? These are now the most important thing in the world. So you've got to get your head around thinking, I've got to do this. Even reading autocue. Now, I'm not a brilliant reader. I can read, but I'm not a brilliant reader. So reading autocue was a nightmare for me. I'm like, I was reading like I was 7 years old. I couldn't pronounce words. There was no continuity in what I was saying, no consistency. And so I'm like, I'm panicking when I'm reading the autocue. I watch myself on TV thinking, oh my God, you're so bad.
How did you get the confidence that you'd not had, then had, and then not had?
So what the guys at Sky, such as Adam, such as Charles Lowe, such as Declan, such as Ed Robinson, these guys had give me little tips, help me out, talk to me, and they were very patient. I got to give them the utmost respect because they were so patient with me.
Sure.
And Ed and Adam, they were the two that said, you're actually better just being natural. That's the way forward. So gone were the days of the autocue. They just said, they tell me what I had to say, tell me what we were talking about. Then I could speak about whatever. That way I could speak with passion. I could be me.
I want to ask you one last question before we wrap up. You've had an incredible journey and we've talked about it at some length.
Yeah.
You've got people out there, everyday jobs. They want to aspire. They want to do things. Now, my slogan is grow a pair for success.
Yeah.
And you've learnt to grow a pair.
Yeah.
What would you say to the people out there in just a couple of sentences how they can learn from your mindset and from your cojones?
Well, put it this way. I have a slogan, and it's a simple slogan. Find a way. There's a way for everything. Find a way. It's that simple. So no matter what you want to do, find a way. There is a way. There is a possibility. If I can become world champion and retire after 13 defences undefeated, after having 13 amateur fights, or only winning 3, and be world champion, if I can do that from such a garbage beginning and to finish king of the world, you can do anything. I'm not super intelligent, but I've got cojones.
You seem a little bit like you said, if I can do it,
so that's what I'm saying. And that's what it is. That's what
is it humble or
no,
putting
it's not
yourself
humble.
down in any way?
It's factual. All I can do is I can tell you my story.
Yeah.
I don't have a script.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is you can always remember the truth. You can't remember a lie. So what I'm saying is if I can do this, whatever you want to do, you can do it. People, it'll surprise you. You'll get friends, you'll get family, you'll get wives, you'll get lovers, you'll get boyfriends, whatever, kids telling you can't do something. And they're not being mean, they're not being rotten. They're just saying that because they don't believe you can, or they don't know, they don't think
also
you
coming
can.
from their own.
That's right. And I can remember Ali telling a story once, and he said, when he used to get that story, he said, the difference between me and most of the other people is, I can see above and beyond the clouds. They can only see below the clouds. So when they're down there saying, watch out for this pothole, be careful, he can see far in the distance what the big jewel is, what it is. So he can see something they can't. So he can understand, you've got to understand their anguish, their panic, their negativity, because they can't see what you see. But once you start listening to them, looking down below the clouds and living their life, then you're one. There's loads of people at the bottom.
Sure.
So what you've got to do is, if you've got a dream, if you've got an aspiration, just because you don't know someone that's done it, just because you're not getting the support that you wish you had, doesn't mean you can't do it. And now the people that used to give me a hard time when I boxed and say mean things, those same people saying, Johnny Nelson, you were brilliant. I'm thinking, well, you know what, I'm not. What I've done is I've done my job, but I've just changed your opinion of success. I've changed your view of me. And where really, there were a lot of guys in my gym that were a hell of a lot better than me, that should have achieved twice as much as I did, but they didn't, because they didn't have that foresight, that desire, that want. So once that comes, as long as you get it, you'll have many distractions in life, be it family, be it friends, be it job, be it money, be it whatever. And I'm not saying ignore them. What I'm saying is, that's your focus, that's your aim, that's what your goal is. Deal with these things, but make sure you keep your eye on the prize. That's what I'm dealing with. Yeah. And that's how you got to deal with it.
And of course, stumbling blocks are those things you see when you take your eye off the goal.
Yeah.
I've just got one last thing before we end, Johnny. We always have our crackerjack pencil and pen moment.
Yeah.
And that is, of course, the limited edition Cojones t-shirt.
Nice.
You're an extra large, I know. I hope it fits. Maybe I should have bought an extra large.
Nice, I like that.
Okay, wear that with pride, Johnny.
Yeah, you'll see that.
In here,
Thank you.
I haven't opened them. In fact, in here, I can't open them. And I'm not going to start opening them. But in here you have a pair of steel balls for a man who's shown them in his life. And I think it's an amazing story. And it motivates me, and I hope it motivates other people. Thanks ever so much, Johnny.
Thank you, bless.